morning and welcome to New Life Church. I'm so glad that you're joining us this morning. I'm Sam and I serve on the tech team helping to make the live stream work and all the post-editing that goes on. There's a great team pulling this off. If it's your first time tuning in, please use the live chat to say hi. We'd love to connect with you and share more of what we're doing. Some really great news this week, I'm sure you've heard. The first of several vaccines that's likely to be approved has got the thumbs up, so we're all looking forward to that rollout starting. But in contrast, some really sad news, as the UK has just gone through 60,000 COVID-related deaths since the pandemic began. I'm sure we're all trying to think ahead to the Christmas break and making plans. No doubt some of us have some anxiety about how we can balance seeing family and protecting our loved ones. I just want to remind us this morning as to where our hope is fixed. If you look back, there was a series we did recently called Living Hope, which looked at the life of Peter in the Bible. And we learned from him that his hope wasn't fixed on anything else except the birth, the life and the resurrection of Jesus. And that is where our hope is anchored. That is something that is unshifting and unchanging, even through these uncertain times. So whatever you're facing right now, whatever you're looking ahead in the next few weeks, that might be a cause for anxiety. Whatever those around you are facing, I hope you see this morning where our hope is rooted and anchored. Joel will be sharing with us this morning in a new series for this Advent season, and I'm really looking forward to hearing that. Hopefully you've been catching the daily adventure videos that have been coming out. They'll be carrying on every day until Christmas. But before we get into that, we're going to cut over to Beth, who's going to be sharing some worship thoughts with us this morning.
Good morning. It has been so good over the last few weeks to have different people sharing with us their thoughts on worship. And as we enter this Christmas season, I just wanted to drop a little thought in there for you. Quite often this month in particular becomes really, really busy. And I don't know what it looks like for you this year in COVID. But if it looks anything like mine, it looks almost even busier than previous years. One of the things that I really love about our corporate gathered worship is the fact that it causes us to pause in our week. It causes us to pause in our thinking and just focus completely on Jesus, the one who came to save us. And I just want to encourage you over this Christmas season to do that. Make room. Let every heart prepare him room. You know, preparing room for God, preparing room for Jesus doesn't just happen. We have to choose to make it happen. So I want to encourage you this season. Prepare him room. Make room in your heart. Make room in your life. Make room in your day to just turn your heart towards him and worship him.
Surrender. This is my surrender. Here is where I lay it down. Every lie and every doubt. This is my surrender. And I will make room for you to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to, and I will make room for you to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to. of all my religion, 'cause your way is better. Your way is better. Shake up the ground of all my tradition, break down the walls of all my religion. Your way is better. Your way is better. Shake up the ground of all my tradition, break down the walls of all my religion. Your way is better. Your way is better. Shake up the ground of all my tradition, break down the walls of all my religion. Your way is better. Your way is better. And I will make room for you to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to, and I will make room for you to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to. Here is where I lay it down. You are all I'm chasing now. This is my surrender. Here is where I lay it down. You are all I'm chasing now. This is my surrender.
This morning. Thank you again, Beth, for leading us on that new song. It's really, really good. And what a timely reminder that we would make room, but also that the walls of our religion could be shaken down. I pray that's true for all of us today, that happens in our lives. Hey, I am so excited to be starting a brand new theme. It's the beginning of December and our Christmas, our festive, our Advent theme this year. I'm really, really excited to be kicking it off today. And we've called our theme Adventure. You see what I did there? Yeah, adventure. And when we hear the word adventure, I don't know what comes to your mind. Usually it's some sort of grand experience, something fun, something wild. And I just thought I'd like to share with you a really short video of some recent adventures that I've been on. I bet you didn't know I'd been on so many amazing adventures and traveled to all those places. Yeah, it's a bit funny how I also ended up wearing the same outfit in each of those adventures. But I did smarten up before I had to meet former President Obama. Anyway, see, when we hear the word adventure, we think of something kind of crazy and bold, almost this sort of moment And I don't know if that's always helpful. I wonder if there's something more to the word adventure. You see, it can almost make it seem like the everyday is mundane, is boring. We all kind of want the everyday to be done with so we could get on to the real adventure, the real excitement, the moment. It can make us long for something, either in the future or long for something that happened in the past. It can leave us dreaming, and it can leave us longing. And when we dream for the future and when we long for the past, we sometimes miss the adventure of the present moment. Now, the words Advent and adventure are related. They're second cousins on their mother's side. Now, they actually come from the same roots. The word Advent, what that word means is it's the arrival of a notable person or thing. It's from the Latin adventus, meaning to arrive. The word adventus comes from the word advenire, which is also Latin, which means to come. The word adventure is defined as something unusual, exciting, or dangerous, an experience, a journey, or a series of events. No, it comes from the Latin adventurous, meaning something is about to happen. The word adventurous also comes from the word advenire, the same word. Ad meaning to and venire meaning come. They both come from the same word meaning to come. They are from the same root. So this Advent season, we're going to be looking at the adventure of Advent. Now, every Christmas, we remember in the Advent the arrival of a great, noble, and notable person, which is namely Jesus. And we talk about the Advent season of being something that we're waiting and hoping and anticipating. And we anticipate the arrival of the person to come. We also anticipate the return of Jesus. It's an anticipation season. And we all know what it's like to hope and anticipate and long for something. I mean, how many of us are anticipating, hoping, waiting, longing for the moments when we can just hang out with friends again? When we can hug one another? When we can sit down on the same couch together and maybe watch a movie or go out to eat and hang out and spend time with one another? We don't have to be concerned that we need to keep a distance so we don't spread something. How many of us are longing and hoping for a change? We know what it feels like to long and hope for something. But we can also almost want to get over this stuff just so we can get to the exciting things. We don't want this in-between stuff. We don't want this waiting. And we separate the adventure from the Advent. You know, when it comes to the Christmas story, maybe we could think it's all about the manger and the idyllic scene that we have on our Christmas cards with the lovely family and the lovely baby, and who, according to the song, no crying he makes. He sits there surrounded by animals who obviously don't smell. And he must be in this warm, glowing stable, which I imagine was probably a bit chilly like it is today, and a band of shepherds clambering to try to find this baby. Anyway, you know all about this scene. You've probably seen it so many times before. Or maybe seeing that scene, maybe people felt like, oh yes, finally, the waiting is over. He's finally here. Or as Mary would have said, he is finally here. I don't know about you, but I've heard that when you're pregnant and you finally have the baby, there's a sense of relief. So I've been told. Finally, Jesus is here. We can get on with the adventure now. Except, a bit of a problem. He's a baby. He can't do anything. Well, he can cry, he can sleep, he can poo, he can eat. That's about it. Repeat. That's all he can do. It doesn't really look like much yet. It doesn't look like a savior. It doesn't look like this great promised king that will rule forever. It looks like an ordinary baby boy. You see, let's remember 9 months ago, Mary was just minding her own business. Excited about the future, dreaming about what could be. She was engaged to be married, which in the time people had arranged marriages. It's like she was promised. The two families had figured it out and they got together and said, oh, Joseph and Mary are going to make a good fit. And they were set up. They were going to be married. They were going to be put together. And so there was some excitement. She had some plans for the future. And then the plans changed. I mean, everything changed for her. An angel shows up one day and has this crazy conversation. If you want to read about it, it's in the book of Luke. And the book of Luke was written by a guy named Luke, and he investigated the story of everything, and he wrote down all these things. He investigated the facts, and it's in Luke chapter 1, and it's verse 25 onwards if you want to look it up. But anyway, this angel shows up, and he surprises Mary, and he says, "Yo, Mary." He might not have said yo. I just think maybe that's what the cool kids say. Anyway, he said, "Mary." And she's a bit startled. I wonder how it happened. You see, I wonder if Mary was just doing something ordinary, like maybe she was just doing dishes. She wasn't necessarily doing anything spectacular. She wasn't, some great leader. She wasn't some famous person. She was an ordinary girl from an ordinary nowhere town. She wasn't the smartest or the brightest. She wasn't even some religious or social leader. In fact, she couldn't be. She was just an ordinary young girl. And she would have just been doing ordinary things that girls in that culture did, which would have been more domestic type duties. So let's just imagine she's doing dishes, yeah? She's just tidying up in the house maybe. All of a sudden, she hears this voice, "Mary." Mary. See, I like to imagine that Mary might have had a little brother. Because to me, this is the kind of prank that a brother plays on a sister. I would love to hide somewhere around the corner and call her name, and she wouldn't know who was calling her name or where it was coming from. And in fact, I'd probably do it in such a way that it probably got a bit more menacing. It would be, "Mary, Mary, Mary." And she's startled. Okay, she's surprised. And it says so, It says that she's surprised and freaked out, yeah? She doesn't know what's going on. And then the angel appears. She realizes it's an angel calling her name. And he says to her, "Greetings, highly favored one." Which is kind of cool. I mean, if I ever met an angel and it said that to me when it greeted me, I'd be probably kind of cool with that. I'd be happy with that greeting. But Mary looks around and she's like, "Are you talking to me? Me? I'm just doing dishes. Me? Well, I think you've got the wrong person here. I'm just an ordinary girl from an ordinary nowhere town. How can I be the highly favored one?" And the angel says, "Yeah, I'm talking to you. Don't be afraid. You have found favor with God." Okay, now that's cool as well. First he's like, "Hey, highly favored one." Then he's like, "You found favor with God," which is pretty cool because she's probably thinking, "I don't even know what I've done to have found favor because all I'm doing is my ordinary everyday things." And the angel carries on. You will conceive and have a baby boy. You're going to name him Jesus. You see, up to that point, it was going really well. Hey, highly favored one. And then you're going to have a baby, which is probably not the greeting that she was expecting or necessarily wanted. The angel carries on. This baby boy is going to be great. He's going to be called the Son of the Most High. The Lord God will give him the throne of his father David. David is like the super famous king. He's going to have the throne of his father David, and he will reign over Jacob's descendants forever, and his kingdom will be without end. I don't know about you, but that seems pretty overwhelming. I'm just going about my everyday, ordinary moments. An angel greets me, and all of a sudden, I'm part of something huge, massive. It's pretty amazing. But it's also a little confusing, because see, Mary's had that lesson at school, the one about the birds and the bees, so Mary knows a bit about biology. And she has to point out to this well-intentioned and very kind angel, we have a slight problem, sir. I'm just a young girl. I'm on my own. I'm not married. I'm not quite sure how this whole baby thing's going to happen, because it's just little old me, sir. And then the angel says, this is going to happen through the power of the Holy Spirit. You will conceive through the Holy Spirit. Wow. I mean, what a lot to wrap your head around. 15 minutes ago, you were just thinking about what we're supposed to get done for the rest of the day, and now all of a sudden, you're having to consider what's going to go on for the rest of your life, because this is a life-changing moment. Her life is going to change from this moment onwards. And then she says something which is incredibly crazy and incredibly brave. And she says this, okay, so be it. Count me in. I'm going to be part of this plan. And even though Mary doesn't know how it's all going to work out or what it is all means, even though she's confused and uncertain, she chooses to jump in. I think maybe sometimes we forget about the humanity of the Christmas story. I mean, we've seen it so many times, we've read it so many times, it just becomes another story. But in reality, it is one great adventure. In some ways, it's like our adventure. It's like our adventure of faith. Our adventure of saying yes to Jesus. Okay, count me in. I'm going to be part of this plan. See, Mary didn't have all the answers. Her life wasn't actually about to get easier. In fact, her life was going to get a heck of a lot crazier. Her life dramatically changed. Her reputation changed. Her relationships changed. For the next 9 months, someone began to grow inside of her. 9 months of waiting, 9 months of longing, 9 months of unknowing, 9 months of uncertainty, and she had no idea what the future held. The adventure wasn't just one solitary moment, like when the angel came down and startled her and spoke to her. The adventure wasn't just when Jesus was born. It wasn't just that moment. The adventure wasn't that moment when Jesus started his ministry, started preaching and speaking. The adventure wasn't that moment when Jesus died on the cross. The adventure wasn't that moment when Jesus raised from the dead. The adventure was a lifetime. Mary's adventure took place every single day of her everyday, ordinary life. The adventure was happening when she was washing the dishes, maybe making the beds, maybe sitting down with Joseph after a hard day's work, talking about what took place during the day. The adventure was in the everyday moments of laughing with Jesus as he was a child. It was happening when she was raising him and caring for him and teaching him his first words. It happened when they were playing in the garden and as she watched him as he learned to crawl and learned to walk and learned to run. The adventure was also when she was watching him as he began to teach his first word, teach his first followers, and speak. It happened when she watched him stand before crowds, command sicknesses to leave, rebuke the religious, and cry out for forgiveness as he hung on a cross. Every single one of these everyday, ordinary moments were part of the adventure. The adventure of being part of God's plan was happening every day and in every one of those ordinary moments. See, maybe you're waiting for your great adventure to start. Some moment in the future when you are hoping that something will happen. Maybe you're looking to the future as if that will satisfy your heart. But if all we do is look to the future, we become disillusioned. Maybe you're waiting for some great adventure that happened in the past to happen again, or you want to go back to those moments. If only you could go back to that place, that season in your life, that age, that moment when things were exciting, and maybe that will satisfy your heart. But if all we do is look to the past, we become disappointed. Mary reminds us that the adventure is participating in the now, in the present. You know, this Christmas, we have a unique opportunity to slow down. There's going to be a lot less events for you to have to go to. There's going to be less office parties, less visits with friends and family. There's going to be less shopping, less traveling, less moving about. What a unique opportunity we have to slow down. Don't rush past this opportunity. My heart is that you don't miss this moment. See, Mary also reminds us that if you have questions about faith, about what it means to follow Jesus or how it all works out, she reminds us that it's okay to not have all the answers. She reminds us that even though it could take a while to figure it all out, it's okay to journey. This story reminds us that the first thing we can do is be honest about where we're at. She said to the angel, "I'm just a young girl. I've not done anything spectacular. It's just me. I've not done anything of great value. I've not achieved anything yet. I'm just me, doing my everyday, ordinary stuff. I'm just me. I'm on my own. How's this going to all happen?" Last week, Beth asked the question, where are you? Where are you really? Where's your heart at? That's the question we all need to wrestle with. Because if we're honest with ourselves, we realize that we are more broken than we dare to admit. This story also reminds us that there is a God who has a plan for your life, and that plan is bigger than we can even understand, imagine, or see. This story reminds us that there's a God that comes and he says to us, don't be afraid. Don't be startled. It says to us, you have found favor. It says to us, there's a plan. This story reminds us that there's a God that still reaches out, who says the first word, who invites, who initiates, who calls out to us, who chases us, who pursues us, who looks for that which is lost and seeks for that which can be saved. See, this story reminds us not only that we are more broken than we dare to admit, but we are also more loved than we dare to hope. And I want to invite you today into the adventure of a lifetime. See, what would it look like for you to say to Jesus, okay, count me in. I'm going to be part of this plan. It's okay for you to have questions. It's okay for you to have concerns about the future. It's okay for you to wonder how it all works out. You can come as you are. You can come as you are because we are more broken than we care to admit. We are more loved than we dare to hope. And through Jesus, we can be made more whole than we ever imagined. What would it look like for you today to say to Jesus, okay, count me in. I'm going to be part of this plan. That's my heart for you. That's my prayer for you, that in this Advent season, you're part of the great adventure. I'm going to hand it back over to Sam, and he's going to close and carry on with the rest of our morning. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Joel. And just to let you know that we're going to be streaming live for the next few weeks up until Christmas. And then as soon as it's allowed and safe and practical, we're really looking forward to being able to meet together again in person. But in the meantime, there's loads of ways to keep connecting. I pray that you'll remember from this morning what Joel has shared, that we will keep looking to discover God's adventure that he wants to call us into in the midst of our everyday lives. So I'm just going to pray now as we draw to a close. God, I thank you that you call us into something bigger than ourselves. That your plan is that we join with you as you get involved in our lives. We discover the adventure of what it is to live with faith each and every day. I pray for each of us watching this morning that we will know your presence with us as we go into the coming week. So I just want to encourage you as you think of others as well. Think of those who are in need, those you could pray for, those you could take some action to support, those who might just need a phone call or a text to let them know that you're thinking of them through this time. Well, we're going to be wrapping up very shortly, but just once again, thank you to Joel and for Beth for their preparations and what they've shared with us this morning. Don't forget to subscribe to the New Life Church channel on YouTube. That's the best way to keep up with all the new material as it comes out. And please just say hi in the chat before we close up this morning. I hope you have a really great and safe week. And remember where our hope is found. God bless you, and we'll see you again this time next week on the live stream. And just in case you missed it last week, we're going to just repeat Elaine's video about all the great work that Make Lunch is doing to support families through this Christmas period.
Hi, it's Elaine, and I just wanted to take a few minutes to tell you about Make Lunch and our plans for this Christmas. Many of you will have seen over recent months a fantastic job the footballer Marcus Rashford has done in highlighting the struggles some families in our communities face. Families on low incomes with school-aged children depend on a free school meal each day to guarantee that their children are well fed. Over lockdown this year and during the school holidays, where the school meal hasn't been available, families have really struggled to make ends meet and to find the money they need to provide that extra meal. And we know children have gone hungry as a result. Now, this has been particularly difficult this year, of course, but it's not a new issue. And the Christian charity Make Lunch has been working with churches for many, many years now to support families like this. Our Make Lunch Centre in Letchworth is 2 years old now, and God has really grown our influence this year. This summer we've had 32 families we've supported each week with a box of groceries to make a nutritious, a healthy lunch and dessert. And we know that each week over the summer holidays and again over the October half term, we provided enough food to feed over 100 people. That's awesome, isn't it? Adding into that, and big shout out to the activities team, we've been able to give a bundle of activities, games, crafts, fun to 75 children per week. It's amazing. We'd love to make a delivery again this Christmas, which is where you come in. The idea is this. We'd like you to adopt, just for this period of time, one of our fantastic Make Lunch families. As an organisation and with our other partners, we have several things we'd love to donate and deliver to them, but we'd like you to top up with a bag of hope. We'd love you to buy a Christmas themed bag, a bit like the one I've got here, and put into it some treats. We really want our bags to have a feel of celebration about them. So I've got some hot chocolate, a Christmas Yule log, and some cheese straws, for example. But I'm also going to add in a few staples, some custard and some juice. And I'm going to put in as well some pens and maybe a colouring book for the children. And I think I'm also going to add in something to help keep people warm this Christmas, maybe a pair of cosy socks to wear around the house. Now, there are many more details that I will be able to email you out if you're interested in finding out more. But that's just a flavour of some of the things that you might want to add. Each bag is going to look individual, and it's up to you what you want to put in. But we suggest that for each family member, you spend between £5 and £10. And if you are interested in taking part in our scheme, it would be really helpful for you to let me know the kind of size family you would like to support and make a bag of hope for. Now, you've got several weeks to put together your bag of delicious treats. We would like you to drop off your bag on the 21st of December. The Make Lunch delivery team will then make sure it gets to your family. And we'd love you during this time, please, just as much as you buy things for them, we'd love you to pray for them. The God who sees them and knows them, loves them, longs to see them thrive, and we would love to be part of his hands and his heart of blessing to each of those families this Christmas. So thank you for listening. You'll see my details come up on the screen. If you would like to sign up or ask any more questions, then please do drop me a line. Thank you. Have a great day.